Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the basic essentials to have in a Kitchen Witch's kitchen or in a Kitchen Witch's workspace. So I'm going to walk through some of the items that are up on this table. We'll talk about them a little bit, and then we will have a discussion after this video is done about the various items. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the items that you'd want in a Kitchen Witch's space. So first of all, you want as much light as possible, and you can see that it's pretty bright in here right now. This is mid-afternoon for us. We've got a big door, we've got a couple of windows, we've got a nice overhead light in here. You want to be able to see what you're doing. You want to make sure you have plenty of counter space. This kitchen is lacking in counter space, so we built this table that we kind of tuck into a corner that we can use and remove if we need to, just so that I have a little more space to work on. You want kettles. I have two big boys that I like to use, these two corners here. So I like stainless steel. Most people would prefer stainless steel. You don't really want to use Teflon for a lot of work because the way Teflon can sometimes chip and crack and peel, you don't really want that in your stuff. Sometimes you can't help it, that's all you've got. You'd like to have smaller pots too. Sometimes you don't need the big kettle, you just need to make a little tiny salve or a little bit of oil or something. So you want little pots too. You want to make sure you have a tea kettle. In case you're making teas, you need to have hot water, or you need to steep something. You want your hot water. Make sure you have a good cutting board. This is one of my cutting boards. I like to use this one mostly for dry goods. I like to keep unscented lotion. This is Dead Sea Salt Ocean. I like to keep witch hazel, a couple of different kinds of oils. This one's a sweet almond oil. All of those are nice things to have to blend essential oils into or with, so that you can make sprays, so that you can make lotions and oils that you can use topically. Make sure you have salt. I like to use plain old iodized salt for a lot of things, but it's always nice to have some Himalayan sea salt around too. Make sure you've got good pot holders. I have a ton of them. These are just a couple. An assortment of canning jars is almost essential. This is a nice 1 pint, a 1 cup, and there's a quart back there. Make sure you've got good liquid measuring cups, different sizes. Same thing with dry measure, spoons and cups. I keep a couple of sets that are just for my magical and energetic use, as opposed to my culinary use. You want a set of grinders of some sort. You can use mortar and pestle, like this nice fine, really coarse one back here. This is great for breaking up really big pieces of stuff, cinnamon, corn, things of that nature. This finer pestle down here, that's for powdering some, herbs. Much less spices, more herbs. Coffee grinder is really nice for things too. You can use that to grind up peppercorns, to grind up beans, to grind up, bigger spices. I also find that a little herb grinder is handy. You can usually find those at smoke shops, but they're nice for grinding up different herbs, especially if you're trying to make things like tea. You want a variety of herbs and spices. So I have like rosebuds, I have some nettle, some juniper berries, some raw sugar. I've got parsley, oregano, thyme, cinnamon. There's some standards that are good to have. You generally want to have sage, you generally want to have cinnamon, and you generally want to have salt. I like to have nice big tea steeping balls, tea balls. That way you can make larger batches of tea. I also like to keep green tea on hand. You'd like to have some funnels. That's always nice to get things from point A to point B. Make sure you have a couple of stirring utensils. This is one of my favorites. I like to use this one a lot. I like to use wood ones in particular. Wood's kind of my favorite. Cotton yarn is important to have. If you're working with cheesecloth, I work with cheesecloth and linen, and sometimes I work with these little seal-it-yourself tea bags. You can use the cotton yarn, cotton thread to tie these shut to make your own little steeping pouches, or just to kind of keep things contained. Make sure you've got a good set of knives, a couple of sizes, good set of scissors. Beeswax is pretty essential. This is how you're going to make a lot of your salves. For those who want to do vegan, they don't want to use beeswax. This is candelilla wax. The thing you want to remember with candelilla, though, is that it actually has a harder setting rate. So when your salve is set with beeswax, it's softer. With candelilla, it's a little bit harder. It's a little more waxy. And you always want to have your patron. So in this case, this is Loretta the Kitchen Witch, and Loretta kind of keeps an eye on things around here. Oh, and don't forget your recipe box. You want to have a recipe box so you can keep track of all the fantastic things that you do. Because, trust me, you will never remember what it is that you did. I've tried, it doesn't work. So, we'll click off of here. We'll have more discussion in the class now about these items.